Are we live? I think we should be. I'm just seeing if my phone is catching up now. It's not coming through yet. Taking some time to come through here. Hello, can anyone see me? Aha, it's started to connect now. Fantastic, right. Thank you for joining, everybody. I think, there's only a couple of people in the chats, but thank you for coming along. That's fantastic. If you're watching on the replay, then don't forget to leave a comment down below as we go through, and I'll get back to you as we progress through on any questions that you have. But if you're live in the chat now, then leave me any comments and I'll answer them as we go through in detail for you. So I'm excited about today's session. This is my kind of bread and butter, if you like. This is the kind of video editing that I like and enjoy doing. So it's really inspiring and fun to come and watch or come and show you how to do these things in real time. So we'll just get started in a few minutes. Just let anybody else join if they're going to come along. That'd be fantastic. And while we wait, the replay from yesterday, this is the second in a 3-part series. So there's a video from yesterday that you can go and watch as well. That's all about creating the perfect video ideas and finding out how to research into them and using the tools to get your perfect video ideas out there. We've also got a session tomorrow, and that session is about business and really where YouTube fits into your business. If you imagine that for most people, and you can have YouTube as your actual business, it can be your full-time thing, but for most it's a tool that they use to leverage and there's more elements to their business than just YouTube. You can have either option, it doesn't matter, there's not a right or wrong, but really we're going to go through that tomorrow and see where it places or how you can approach it in the 2 different angles and which is best to suit you. So if we're meeting for the very first time, then my name is Joe Cullen. I'm a former IT manager. I led a small team in a large project, and now I'm a full-time content creator, managing my own business, helping you create your channel, rank your videos and grow your audience. I'm super excited about this session, so I'm going to kind of dive straight into it. I'm going to dive straight into it now, so let's get started. What are we actually looking at today? Well, we're going over Shotcut, which is a free and open source video editor, and the idea of today is to get you started with all of the basic tools that you're going to need to edit your videos. In the last session we covered how to create or how to get ideas to create your first video, and now we're going to imagine that you've recorded that video and you're going to go and edit that video so it's as good as it can possibly be for when you upload it to YouTube. The actual practical tools that we're going to be doing. So we're going to look at how to install Shotcut. I've already got it installed on my computer, so I'm not going to show you how to install it exactly, but I'll show you where to go to download it and the basic steps. I've actually got a video on that, so I can link that in the description below if you're having any trouble to download. So after this replay or after this live stream ends, then have a look there, and I'll leave it in a link below for you. We're going to look at setting up a new project, adding media, that's your recording, and then applying cuts and transitions to your project and how you can make it look a little bit better than if you just leave it all as the raw content. We're then going to look at exporting the video in a good format for YouTube, so then you can go and upload it straight after the session if you'd like to. So why do we need to edit videos? Well, the main reason really is that you're up against a lot of competition on YouTube, and imagine somebody does click into your video, you've just got that person watching and they're looking at you fumbling around with the camera and you're not really giving them any content or value, and you're walking around the desk to start your presentation or whatever it might be. That can all be cut out, and then you're giving your viewers maximum value. And as soon as a viewer sees that you've spent the time and effort in all of that kind of stuff, then they're gonna appreciate that. They're gonna get a better experience, and they're gonna stay around for longer. And the longer people watch your video, the more chance that your video has to rank and to be seen by other people in the YouTube search. So it all plays a very key factor. There's lots of techniques and tips that you can do to increase attention and things like that as well. We're not going to go too much into that today, but they are elements that are all available as part of the editing. We're just going to go over the basics. We're going to get you set up, because an edited video is much better than a non-edited video, and you're instantly going to rank higher because that attention rate is going to be higher on your videos. Other reasons: it gives you a professional appearance. Authority in your niche is really important as you start to grow, especially. You'll get authority. People will at least see you as an authority, and those potential viewers will be watching for longer, again boosting your authority in your niche. So very important kind of element of editing there. It also helps grow and promote you as a business and the brand in the best light. You really, they're all fairly similar things that I'm saying here, but really you do want to be respected in the community and your area of expertise, and you want to showcase that in the best possible way. And that's really what editing will enable you to do. So I think I said it just now, but just before we get started, I'm just going to repeat it once more. This is a 3-part series. So on the first one, we covered the video ideas. In this one, we're covering the video editing. And in the next one, we're covering where YouTube kind of fits into your business and where you can go to grow your audience. If that interests you, then please do watch the previous one after finishing this live stream, and also join me again tomorrow at 10 o'clock for the next one. It's 10 o'clock GMT time, so English time, basically. Okay, so let's get into it. I'm going to head over to the screens now. And what you've got on your screen right now is the Shotcut website. So if you're following along with this, I might go a little bit too fast for you to copy exactly, but again, there's the video that I'll link in the description below, and also you can pause this and then catch up slightly later. So the main way to download and install Shotcut is go to the Shotcut website. It's shotcut.org. It's just up here. Tell you what, I'm just gonna put my cursor highlighter on as well so you can see that. Bear with me. Right, there we go. So you've got shotcut.org. That is your main website that you want to go to. Don't use any of the other kind of links that you may be given. This is the official website and the one that you should be using. On there, you're going to have click to download. You can click to download, or you can navigate up there. Goes to the same place, I believe. You do get adverts. That's how Shotcut makes some of its money. You can click off the adverts, and then you've got these links here. If you are on a different operating system, then these will say whichever operating system I believe that you're on. But if they don't for any reason, then you've got your other options just here. For most people, you're going to want the Windows installer, so the top section. Both of these are as relevant as each other. It doesn't matter which one you decide to click on. I'm going to click on FOSS just because it's the first one there, and then it will start to download the Shotcut installer for you. Now, once that's downloaded, you will need to go on install Shotcut. I'm not going to do that process online right now because I've actually got Shotcut already installed, but it's literally just a click, click, click. You don't need to change any of the options unless you want to. And if you need help with that, again, I'll leave that link in the description below. Right. So that is how you get to Shotcut. That's how you download Shotcut, and then hopefully you can finish off the install on Shotcut there. And let me close. Now I'm just going to load up Shotcut itself. And this is what you'll see once you've successfully installed Shotcut onto your computer. Okay, so if you do have any trouble at all, then you can, in your search bar, you can type in Shotcut and it should pop up as an app, and then you just install it, you just open it that way. Now, to make a new project in Shotcut, the first thing that you come to is this screen, and really what we're interested in is this box in the middle here. Your recent projects will all be blank. I've just done a little test there, but there's over time that will fill up with all of your previous projects, and you can clear that in the settings if you want to. The projects folder is where all of your files will sit primarily. So I have mine here. I keep all of my demo projects just here, and you will probably not have a set of demo projects. You'll probably just use your main projects folder, but I'd recommend that you decide where that's going to be so you can keep all of your files nicely organized as we progress through. Your project name, I'm just going to call mine demo. You can call yours whatever you want. I'd recommend titling this so it makes sense to you. Especially if you're doing this weekly. So if you're doing it on a weekly basis, then you want to make a project that has some kind of structure to it, possibly in the project name, so you can get back to them easily if you need to at any point. The video mode automatic, this will automatically detect your settings for you. So for the first video, I recommend you do this. It's probably the easiest way to get started. Later on, you may decide that you want specific settings, and this is how you would get to them here. I generally use a 4K setup that I've created myself. I've got videos on that again on my channel, so please do go and have a look if you're interested in looking at a slightly more advanced setup. But today we're looking at automatic and just keeping it simple. So click on start. And it doesn't really change much. It kind of looks the same actually, but this is now your project started. As you can see, the name of my project's up there, and this is the basic interface for Shotcut. The next thing we need to do is add media to the playlist. Actually, I'm going to backtrack on that one. So the next thing you need to do, if this is the first time you've installed Shotcut, then come up to your settings, and I need to find it now, preview scaling. You want to set that probably to lower. Now, the reason I say probably is because your computer may be super duper and all whizzy and brand new, and you may not need to lower your preview scaling. What this does is this screen here, it's going to lower the quality of what you see here, but at the final export, when you actually create your project and you make it into a video, then it's going to render it at full resolution. So it just speeds up the editing process. So quite often you find that this preview screen here is quite laggy, quite slow, and quite hard to use when you've not got preview scaling on. So the first thing to do, come over to here and enable preview scaling. I always have mine set at the lowest one, and that's just because then you've got your maximum amount of speed that you can use on your project. And that's really quite important if you've got a slightly older computer. My computer's actually probably coming up 4 or 5 years old now, maybe even older, and that is something that I need to do, otherwise it really does start to lag behind. Okay, so now we're going to add in new media to the project. Media can be images, sounds, graphics, videos, anything that you need for your project. You don't have to do this at the start. You can add them in at any point, but you do need something to start with. So make sure you're clicked on playlist, and then this will be empty right now, but then navigate to wherever you've got your content. I'm just going to find mine. It's actually on the other screen. I'll put it onto there so you can see it. Videos. So these are all my demo clips that I use on quite a regular basis. Now, it's entirely up to you. You can obviously use sound and stuff. I'm not going to use sound because it will just drown out my voice during this live. So I'm going to use some clips that I don't have any sound or voice attached to it. And I'm going to just click them all and then drag them into the playlist. Now these are the clips that I can use for my video. You can also add them through the plus button here. And I believe that you can also add them through the file and open other. I'd recommend where possible just clicking and dragging, but if you're having trouble doing that for any reason, then sometimes you can open it in other ways and that does really help. Okay, so now we've added the media, we now need to, down here is your timeline, and your timeline is what you're going to use to make your video viewable, playable, and what the end user is actually going to see. So I'm going to click onto the first one and I'm just going to drag it onto the timeline. What that's going to do is it's going to create a video track for me and put the audio, put the video into the first place on the timeline. I can now add as many others as I want to in whichever place that I decide. Okay, so just so that fits on the screen nicely, this is just a demonstration, so I'm just going to leave it like that. As you can see, I've got gaps in my video here. So if I play my video, I'm going to click play here. It's going to play the video. It's just got a small pan on it. Obviously, you can see it moving now. And then when it gets to this space, it's just going to go black. So if you don't have anything in your timeline, you're going to see black space. Generally, that's not something you want in your video. So the best thing to do, if you've got space in between your video here, just right click and remove. This has now butted the two clips together and there's no space. So now when I click play, it goes straight from one to the other. If you're having trouble moving this timeline tool around at all, so this is what's currently viewing on the screen. If I click here on this where it's got all of the numbers, the timeline, then it will instantly move to that spot. Okay, so you can navigate around and see what's on the screen, on the preview screen, by clicking on that tool there. Or you can push the play button and let it scroll through nicely in its video kind of format. Okay, the other way to do this, so I've just butted the two things together. The other way to do this is by clicking onto whatever, moving it and then dragging. Okay, and you can see it snaps. If yours is not snapping for any reason, then this button right here is the snapping tool. If that is not coloured in with like a blue background, then it means it will not snap. You won't get a snap, it will just keep on scrolling over as if it doesn't exist. So what we want is it to be on and for you to snap so there's no gap. Okay, so now there's no black space in between the two video clips. It goes straight from one to the other. And don't ask me what this video is about. It's pretty random, but it's just using some demo clips to demonstrate exactly what we need to do here. Okay, so we've now got our media on our timeline and we've now got no spaces between the clips. That's the first thing that we needed to do. Now we're going to have a look at the beginning and the end of the clips and imagine that we wanted to cut some of those bits out because actually they're not very relevant to what we need. Maybe that's you walking behind the desk when you've just pushed the record button and now you're in front of the camera and you're ready to actually produce your content, but you need to get rid of that bit at the very start. So let's imagine that's happening here, and as soon as the hand comes into the picture, we want it to start there. So we want it to start there. You've got a couple of ways of doing this. I don't usually use the tools here, so let me find it. So split at playhead is the one that you want. If you click onto that button, that's now, I'm just going to move the timeline tool. That's now created a cut right there. I can select that, press delete on the keyboard, and that's now disappeared. That hasn't started the video from a different place. It's actually now got a black space there. So what I need to do is right click and click remove. Now that video will start right at the point that we want it to start at. So you can see the hand is almost there. Our timeline tool is right at the edge, and we click play, and there we go, it's straight in there. So that is how you would truncate the very start of your video to make it look much cleaner. You've also got potential mistakes that you've made in the middle of your clips. So you would use the same tool again. You would use this tool here. It's called Split at Playhead. I actually use the S button on my keyboard all the time, so you don't have to actually click on that. You can always push S, which is what I just did there, and then come to the next place where you want the cut to end, press S again, and then you don't actually have to delete it manually. You can right click straight away and click remove, and that will clear that piece of content that you've just selected, cut out and selected. So now when I click play, you've got the piece moving and then a jump to the next scene. That's how you would cut out the bits that you don't want. Now that's quite a lot to take in straight away. So if you've got any questions, then do leave me a chat. I'm happy to answer as we go through. I can see there's none at the moment, which is fine. But if you do, then leave me a comment as well, and I'll get back to you at any point. So that's the basic timeline cutting, and it's quite easy to do once you get the hang of it. The remove is the tool that we just used to remove the small clip. So if you select and click remove, you can also see that you can press X. So if I cut, I'm going to use the S button to cut, and I'm going to use the S button again to cut. And now I want to remove this, I can press X. Okay, and that does exactly the same thing as clicking here, moving that, clicking here, selecting it, right clicking, remove. Okay, so they're the same things that I'm showing you in different ways. You can use your preferred method. There is no right or wrong way to do it. What you will find is if you're doing this on a regular basis and you find yourself doing this again and again, then the X and S buttons on the keyboard become your best friends. I pretty much have no S button left on my keyboard because I press it so often on my editing and recording things. So yeah, you will find that you probably do the same thing if you become an editor in the way that I am as well. Okay, so we've now got some nice cuts. We're happy with our video. Let's maybe cut the elephant down just that little bit more so we can go into the virtual reality image as well. And you could theoretically, if you cut off the end, so you know when you're turning off the camera, you're probably going to jiggle it around again. Doesn't look too great. So cut all of that bit off right at the end. S there, remove, done. That's all good. Now you could export your video right now. You don't need to do any more. There are benefits to doing more, but they're not critical. And I would really highly suggest that you don't get overwhelmed and overloaded by all of the things you can do, because that's the bare minimum. That is the minimum that you need to do to make your video something that people will watch. And that isn't too hard, right? That doesn't take too long. Obviously, if your video is 10 or 15 minutes long and it's taking you 20 minutes to create it and you've got to cut out all the mistakes and stuff, it does take a bit longer than what I physically demonstrated here, but really, it doesn't take that long to do. It will take you a little bit of time just to get used to it, but simple. It's simple, and it should stay simple if you want it to. So I'm going to move on one step further than that today, because I think you can get some extra benefits from the simple transitions. So a transition is when you, at the moment, if we move from one to another, we've got, I'm just going to play this, you've got the elephants, and then you've got a sharp cut, and that sharp cut goes to the next scene. You might not want it to cut in that way. You might want it to fade, or you might want it to swoop in from one side, or do like some kind of transition between the two scenes. If you want to do that, then I'll demonstrate that now, and I'll demonstrate a couple of different things that you can do. So select one of your clips and drag it over the other clip. Where doesn't really matter, but if you can, I try and get 1 second worth of clips. So as you can see, I can't show you kind of with the mouse, but there it says 1. That means there's a 1 second transition. For me, I quite like 1 second transitions, so I use 1 second transitions pretty much for everything. When you let go, you then get this kind of egg timer shape thing. If you click onto it and then go to properties, properties are just up here. So you've got this selected and then clicked on properties. You've then got the different types of transition that you can do out the box with Shotcut. So I'm going to set up 2 transitions. I'm going to do another one here. I'll set that to 1 second. So you've got 2 1 second transitions. And the reason that I've done that is this transition here is actually between the 2 elephants, and it's not really going to show very well the transition, so I'm going to actually use this one as the demonstration, but you could still do it with this. There's nothing stopping you, just visually it won't show quite as well. So first of all, let's show you exactly what the default dissolve does. So the transition's about to start, and it transitions nicely over the course of 1 second from one video to the other. Now let's imagine that we want to, let's just play around with some of these different things. So let's try a bar horizontal and see what that looks like. And then it swoops in from the left to right over the course of 1 second. I'm not going to go through all of these, but I'll show you one more maybe. The iris circle, and we'll play again, and that goes in from the center to the outside. And you've got lots of different options here. Again, I'm not going to play around with them. The default settings on all of them will be okay for you to start off with. Later on, you might want to play around with the settings a little bit more, but to start off with, just start with the basics. Okay, you've got lots of different transitions to play around there, and ultimately you'll create a slightly more engaging video that people will enjoy that little bit more, and that's all very easy to do. Doesn't take too much time and won't overwhelm you, hopefully, with the idea of getting started in a video editor. Okay, so we've got the cut and the transitions completed. We now want to save our project. If I simply come up here and click save, that will save the project. And there's a very important distinction between saving a project and exporting a project. Saving a project is going to save an MLT file, which is what you're looking at here on the screen. And the MLT file can be opened in Shotcut, so you can edit your video further and make further changes or even revert the changes, but it will open up in the Shotcut program. An exported file you can no longer change. So once you've exported that file, you would have to come back into your saved file and do another export if you wanted to make any changes. The export takes a lot longer to do, but it's designed to be the final product. Okay, so if you have saved your project, then it means that you can get back to this stage again in Shotcut, but you cannot load an MLT file into YouTube. So you need to export your finished product, your finished file, so then you can upload it to YouTube, and YouTube know that it's the finished product. Hopefully that all makes sense. I'm trying to cut through quite a lot of the complexity there to keep it as simple as possible, but really the idea is a save will save it so you can carry on editing it, an export will make it so you can upload it to YouTube. So that was the save. You can simply click save and it's done. In the let's have a quick look here. So on the File Explorer, you've got the demo folder. So when we created our project, I called this demo. You'll have a folder called whatever you called your project. And when I open it, I've got demo MLT. Demo MLT is just there because that's what I called it. It will be called whatever you call yours. Also, later on, when you start to get a little bit more advanced, you'll have more files and folders and things in here as well. We're not going to cover any of that today because we don't need it, but you will find that you get more and more things into this file as your projects get more complex. So there is a reason to have a folder and not just the individual file. It does keep your files and folders quite neat if you use it in this way, in the default way. So I'd recommend considering keeping it as default and using it like it suggests. Okay, so now moving on to the export process. You've got the export button up here. Simply click onto that and you'll get this screen here. Now on the side here you've got YouTube. If you click onto that, it will set all of your defaults up for you. So it's going to be HD resolution, it's going to be 25 frames per second, and everything is set for you without you needing to do too much. The format, the best format for YouTube is also MP4, so it should have automatically selected that. If for any reason, so there has been cases before that I've helped a few people with where the export, where this YouTube button doesn't really work, it doesn't set the defaults. So if you're experiencing the same, the resolution needs to be 1920 by 1080, aspect ratio of 16 by 9, and the frames per second. This varies maybe for device by device, but in most professional cameras you'll either be 24 seconds or higher, and for phones, if you've recorded from a mobile phone, you're probably going to want to record at 30 export at 30 seconds, 30 frames per second. It kind of depends on the device that you've recorded on. If you set your project to automatic, then that's where that number is being pulled from. So leave it the same and you'll have no frame dropping issues. There are potential to get frame dropping issues if you set that number incorrectly. Leave all the other settings as is and then click down here on export file. It will come up with the kind of thing that you're probably used to seeing. I was going to save mine to the desktop, and then over on the right hand side here you've got the exporter and the job that it's currently doing. So it will only do one job at a time, but you can queue multiple jobs up one after another, and once one's completed it will move straight on to the next one. Because I've got a very small file here, it's not going to take very long at all, and once it's done you've got your nice big green tick beside you. For a 10-minute video this can take quite a while, especially, so I'm just going to backtrack slightly there and say this is HD resolution. If you're using a professional camera, you may have 4K resolution, so you may want to up that to the 4K resolution settings. I'll leave that up to you. It completely depends on your device that you've recorded on. But yeah, that's one thing that I just forgot to mention there. The video has now been exported, so we're going to have a quick look. Let me get to it. Is it desktop? So you can see my untidy desktop now. So demo is here and it's playing on the other screen. Let me drag it over. And this is the video that we've now exported through Shotcut and that can be uploaded to YouTube. I hope that all makes sense. I'm just going to let it play all the way through so you can see that it goes straight from the beginning to the end. And I also understand that I've used some weird kind of demo clips. That's fine for me. You want to use your real media, obviously. But that pretty much concludes what this session was about. Hopefully you can see that it doesn't take too long to edit a video if you don't want it to. There's lots of other things that you could be thinking, well, you haven't covered text and you haven't covered different kind of effects, and there's lots of other things that you could be doing. And yeah, there's a lot of things that you can do in video editing, and quite often they're the things that end up taking hours of your time. I would highly recommend that if you're starting with YouTube, and even if you're an experienced YouTuber, but you're doing it yourself, then you kind of keep to the basics. You don't need to go above and beyond in every single video, at least. So play around with it, have a little go, get used to it, and when you're ready, you can come back to my YouTube channel at any point and you can start learning the more in-depth and advanced tutorials as well. There's also some other really good channels out there that will help you just as much as my ones. So anyone that's used to Shotcut will be able to show you some really cool tips and tricks. So yeah, any questions from the things that we've covered today, then please do let me know. I'll be around for another kind of 20 seconds or so, unless I get any questions come up. So far the chat's empty, so I'm going to assume that nobody has any questions on any of that. I'm back tomorrow at about 10 o'clock to cover some more kind of business related topics. It shows you, or the session will be about showing you where YouTube fits into a wider business strategy. And again, I think I said it at the start, but that strategy can be that you're all in on YouTube and you just do YouTube. That's fine and that works for some people, but for many, YouTube is a tool that they leverage as part of a wider business structure. And I think it's important that people realize where it fits and where it ends within those kind of structures. So that's what we'll be covering. It's quite exciting. It's quite interesting to go through. And yeah, I'll be back at 10 o'clock tomorrow. So have a good time. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.